and genetics and hereditary thing. How many of you think this is completely unnecessary to life? Okay, that's kind of what I was hoping for, because I heard a lot of grumbling last week about you guys didn't think that was very important.
Actually, whenever you were teaching it, me and Tavon were having a conversation about we don't need this. If we go into this job interview, they're not going to ask us if your mom's almost like a dominant.
Okay, well, that's a good point though. Have a seat, Tavon. All right, so Miss Maisie didn't get a chance to do it, so we'll have to work on it a little bit this morning. So what I did this weekend is I tried to find articles that related to genetics and what you might think about for careers in the future. To try to link, to get you guys to understand that maybe not genetics necessarily, but science in general is important for most of your careers. Things that you might want to do in the future, right? There's almost always something that can be linked to science in some shape or form.
Okay,
All right?
how about working at McDonald's?
Yeah.
Tavon, I really hope that you aspire to do more than that. Well, that's my hope.
It's my teenager dream.
So, I found a bunch of articles, mostly based off of careers from first hour, because that's the time she had to get done. But I'm sure some of you have similar, want to do similar careers as first hour did, right? You don't think so?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So we'll figure out and see if we can't find articles. So what I'll do is we'll spend about 20 minutes reading articles. And then we'll get into groups of 2 or 3. You guys can discuss what you found in your articles that might be interesting or that you didn't know about.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to have you, because they're all spread out here, it might be easier. I'll have you one at a time come up and we'll pick out an article for you. Serena, do you want to start?
What happened to that row? Isn't there more people than
Okay. What did you want to do?
Josh?
No? Do you want to start?
Who else is not here in your row? Roberta, who else is not here in your row?
Josh. Josh is I don't know what Andrew's not here.
Oh.
Just general random stuff, engineering, architecture, dentistry. There's a couple of them. They're small, so you can think of something. Roberta. Okay. All right, so I have articles on different types of careers. What were you thinking about for a career?
I'm sorry.
A teacher. Okay, let's do teaching. The thing about teaching, depending on what you want to teach, you want to incorporate in all these. Kelly did that one. That was really interesting.
Yeah, I know.
I've got nursing, dentistry, law enforcement, doctor stuff.
Excuse the interruption, but will all you teachers please remember to be taking attendance? That includes the substitutes, and get that down to the office, please. Thank you.
Hold on, just a second.
No, she's the teacher today.
I've got stuff on law enforcement. I've got stuff on agriculture.
Isn't that weird?
There's I've got one on a chef or veterinary science, chefs and engineering.
No, that's not a whole part.
I don't know anything on archaeology.
Mickey Mouse is still here.
That would be a good one.
Michelle, Aletha, and Roberta, put it away. You can't have candy in class.
Okay. That one's on more on veterinary science, okay? Okay. All right. Me? What were you thinking about? Nursing.
Eyes only window into
Yes, you have to read it. That's part of this assignment today. When you guys are, you don't want to be this. Right. What were you thinking about? She doesn't have to get through a little. I've got law enforcement, I've got engineering, robotics, law enforcement. Okay. Let's see here.
I had a couple of I sat on the floor and I rolled off my bed and I landed right on the cup. And the cup like cracked.
A music producer. Oh, we're gonna do one of those. So you'll find it.
My back.
I don't have anything specifically for music. But I do have some stuff that you can with YouTube.
No, the cup was cracked.
Or you can look at something, there's something for cosmetology, dentistry, I've got law enforcement, agriculture. Law enforcement. There's one of those two. There's one of those two. Do we have to?
Ask her.
There's a couple left for law enforcement. I've got just a random thing. Oh, you know what? TV producing? There you go. That's right now. Alright guys, if you have your articles, please start reading.
We have to read the whole thing.
Let's have a couple more left on law enforcement. I've got agriculture, dentistry, YouTubing.
I don't want it.
There's cosmetology. Engineering or architecture. Doctors, nurses. There's one on being a chef or a baker.
If it's all interesting, I'll really read it.
I want to be there yet.
Like, sometimes I really like something and I'll really do it.
There's like 5. That has to do with like business, right? Oh, MBA. MBA. No, I don't have anything like that. Alright, who's next? Don't ever hurry. Hustle. We got a whole class.
Can I change my tune? It's not the same.
Let me get through everybody. If there's one left over, then yes, you're done. Alright, what did you want to do as a career?
What? Oh, okay.
Engineering or architecture. There's one with cosmetology, YouTube's, dentistry, YouTube. Who's next? Matt.
It looks like it's Michelle Lee.
Okay, let's go.
Look on
Sarah, what are you doing? Put it away. Next time I see it, it's on my desk.
There's agriculture.
You know, Bobby Shmurda and jokes who are a sophomore in college. She didn't even have any kids in jail for 7 years.
Roberta, don't worry about it.
Some architecture or engineering. There's cosmetology. A random one on caffeine.
I don't know. Not as many as Bobby Shmurda did.
Law enforcement.
Hey, Caitlin, Bobby Shmurda's been jail for 7 years.
Roberta. Oh, that's pretty.
Let's go. Pay attention.
Go, Emma.
Come on.
Hurry and not run.
Killing it all the time.
You got to
Okay, what did you want to do?
I'm just trying to find
Let's try that.
I found
You can switch them out. You guys are done. Alright, Sarah, come.
My sister comes home. She does this really annoying voice. And just a little on my nerves so much.
Yeah, I don't like this one. I don't want to. And I did read.
Caleb would. I would think
And it don't sound interesting.
What did you want to do for career? What are you thinking of?
Backpack food. Can dopey stop?
not the
Runner or
Russian.
nursing, okay.
Dude, I haven't even.
I don't have anything left for law enforcement.
I haven't even started my book.
Dopey's bad. No,
So you
Steve, I
can
need
add
those.
those to our.
Hey, Fred.
That has to do with this post.
I know, right? This hair though. I can't see out of
Nursing or a doctor?
I can see out of Emma. Like, no, I can't.
I can see clearly.
We also have dentistry ones.
No, all of this thing are windows. God.
Ooh, my mama made some bomb enchiladas last night. It's
There's engineering. There's some agriculture. Chef or baker.
My sister, my mom made it. But she only rolled my mom, my uncles, and my dad. She was over here about to kill everybody. I'm like,
No, hurry, hurry.
If you guys have your articles, you should be reading, not talking. Just read it anyway.
Guys, you need to read your article.
Okay.
You have one.
I don't have one. Nurse?
guys, Michelle just said I combed my hair with a brush.
You did. You combed your hair with a comb.
No, you comb it with a combing brush.
This is,
No, that's not natural comb. I got natural comb. It's called pig.
Miss Spicy, you're excited. Miss Spicy.
I'm not the teacher today. She is.
I know.
So ask her.
I'm not.
what did you want
Oh,
to do?
what?
Wildlife officer.
Huh?
When did you first get your pen?
Let me see here.
When I was in high school, I think, when I needed to carry some cash.
In high school.
Which article did you have?
It looked like
Okay.
like 10 big
That one has a little bit more information to what it pertains to. All right. Would you like to pick some? Okay.
It's a cheetah print.
Somebody might have already got it. Let's go with the game. This is going to two other people.
Go ahead. Robots.
Okay. What did you want to do? As a career.
I can't see.
She may not be able to see to read.
I told my mom that I robot. Robot.
There you go.
Most likely a pilot.
Okay. Well, there's a dental one.
Did you
Yeah, but pilot is in the name.
They wouldn't even follow
All right. Give them her glasses. All right. Have a seat.
Wait, why
You've already, can you please have a seat?
Yeah, I did. I reported it. You didn't do first name? I didn't do first name. Who? Did it work?
All right. We should be reading. You guys can about 15 minutes worth of reading.
Well, what if we're already
You're in your groups. You guys are going to discuss your articles amongst yourselves. I want you to talk about tell your roommate what your article was about. How did it link with what you've been learning in class? Is there anything in there that you found interesting? Okay? I will be walking around making sure you guys are discussing your articles and not other things.
can I ask you
I read this article. All right, Sarah, what did you find interesting about your article?
That the starting point of their research is 37 years, and you gotta have 37 years to be a doctor and to do heart research. And also, we found there's a lot of things around the heart when you're doing heart stuff, and
Is there something in there that you didn't know about? That you might have found interesting?
yeah, that 37 years.
So is that when they start the research on the people? Is when they're 37 years old?
No, no, they start yeah, he was a 37-year-old man.
Okay.
So he had 16 months of baby.
What'd you find interesting?
I found out that robots, they're like built like regular people, and they can help them with their medical problems, or like if they need help getting picked up or anything like that. And I found out that the robot named Bandit could blow bubbles.
Okay, so
Isn't there a movie about that where there's a robot that... What is that movie?
Yeah, but it actually says it in here. What is that movie called?
that's one of the references.
No.
Joe is really awesome.
Oh,
There you go. Okay, so that has to do with robotics, right? Do you think it's important to learn about nature and about science and things like that in order to help you build robotics? Yeah?
Yes. You have to know how the nature works
Okay.
for a robot to be able to stay in the nature.
Okay.
instantly. And
What did you find interesting about your article?
so that means you do not commit crime. Did it put you to sleep?
Tell me about your article.
They found out that dogs spend time with people who pet them. Dogs spend more time with people who pet them than say good things to them.
Yeah? That's what you found out in the article? I think I read that article. You can read about a cat.
Yes.
But there's a second part about dogs.
Is there a second story about dogs?
Yeah.
She goes to that nurse.
Did you read about the cat?
Yeah.
What about the cat? Can you tell me about the cat?
She does. She went for a living. Yeah. No, really, she does.
There's something specific in this article that has to do with genetics and cats. Why don't you read it for me? And I'll come back and check it.
I read it. I'm not reading it again.
Tell me about it. What's important about this cat? That has to do with genetics.
I was seeing more of the dog, but I know.
I'll come back to you, okay? Alright guys. What did we find interesting in our article?
I found out that genetics are genetic code or DNA.
Okay, so what do you think that means?
It contains all the elements we need to function.
Okay, good. And how do you think that might be important in dentistry?
I know we have genetics, but I don't know how. Like all they have to do is like take X-rays, examine your teeth, pull some teeth, put your face in.
I think my dentist does a lot more than that. So,
Check it and they get that pokey thingy and they mark your back tooth with it.
okay, why do you
They
think
make
they're
some
doing that?
cavities and you hear kids screaming and that makes you scared to go in there.
I keep
And then and then they put you on laughing gas and then it feels like you're.
So here's the thing. If they're using laughing gas, dentists use the nitrous oxide, which is a laughing gas, right? And they make did you ever wonder why maybe it works for some people but doesn't work for others?
Oh, it works for me.
Does it? Do you know somebody who it might not work for?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever wonder why it works for you but not somebody else?
No. Because the other person is too serious and you need to loosen up.
Do you think maybe it might have something to do with genetics? You don't think it has anything to do with genetics at all?
Like my mom is
Well, I bet that would have something to do with something in her genetics is why it doesn't work. And if that's the case, if it's a genetic issue, why the nitrous oxide works for you but not her, do you think it would be important for a dentist to understand that and know that? No? You don't think so?
I always have a way around it.
But isn't it important for them to know that though?
Like, I guess so. Like that's what they did with my mom. The laughing gas did work for her, but then they did something else. I don't know what they did.
I think it would be important for a dentist to understand why it didn't work, so that they could use something more efficiently. Peyton, what about yours?
Okay, well, it's about the police, the FBI guys, and I learned that they use like it's a biometric technology.
Okay.
And they do get fingerprints or whatever. They do like put something, a light or something.
Okay.
They get bad guys.
They get bad guys? Yeah. Do you think it would be important for them, to people who create these programs, to know a little bit about genetics and maybe about heredity and how, so that they're able to create those kinds of things?
We have to find their DNA.
So that's important, right? Makes sense. Caitlin, how about you? What did you find interesting? Nothing at all? What was yours about? Nursing? Okay.
Well, you have to know because
What was your article about specifically? But what in nursing?
they need something on the glove that gets rid of bacteria.
Yeah? Do nurses wear gloves a lot? Yeah. What about doctors? Yeah. So, how important would it be to have gloves that help keep bacteria off as a nurse? Do you think that would be important?
Sure.
Why?
Because then you don't want to get sick.
Okay,
Or touch it and then touch someone else and get them sick.
that's right. So it'd be good to have, it'd be cool. So who invented those gloves? Can you tell me that? It does say right there in the beginning, in the title. How old was the kid who did that?
15.
15.
Who made gloves?
A 15-year-old. So the 15-year-old, can you imagine that? It's only a couple years older than you guys, right? For some of you, it's pretty close. A 15-year-old knew enough about bacteria and genetics and things like that that she was able to design gloves to help keep bacteria off. Stop. Do you think that's cool? That a teenager was able to do that?
Yes.
Yes?
Like, people invent things every day, like maybe Thomas Edison. Maybe Thomas Edison was a teen when he made the light bulb go bing! Maybe Edison was a teenager when he made the lightning rod go bing. Maybe he made the Franklin go too.
All right.
I invented the word. Okay.
All right. What did we find out that's interesting, huh?
I know we're talking about the MAOA. Gene is located, the X chromosomes, and
Okay. So how would this be important for law enforcement? What does it do? What does that gene do specifically?
it's called the warrior gene. I don't know why.
Okay.
You saw that, Tavon?
There's a particular reason they were doing research on this warrior gene. Can you find out why?
The variation of the particular variation.
Variation? Yeah. Okay. What did they find important about it? There's something specific that they found quite important about it.
Are more likely not to join gangs, but also among the most violent members and to use weapons, according to a new study at Florida State University.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
That like most people don't use the weapon, but they're like in a gang or something.
So do you think learning something like this about being genetic, so they found this to be a genetic marker in men, right? Where they were men who have this gene are more than likely to be violent. Do you think that would be important for law enforcement to understand, to know that, to have a basic understanding of this genetics behind this? Yes. Right? That would be important. So that way maybe they could better understand why gang activity has and what type of people join gangs, right?
It was like something like that they learned.
So is this the one where you're doing bedside genetic testing? So as a nurse, that would be something you would do, right? You could sit on the bedside and do genetic testing. Did it say what kind of testing that they were doing? They gave specifics. No?
Let's talk about the gene.
That was cool because it said that the taste in genes influence the taste sensitivity of children and adults.
Okay. So they're talking about knowing how our genes affect our taste buds, right? So if you're a chef, or even if you're a mom or parent, do you think it'd be kind of cool to understand the genetics behind their taste so that you could better make a diet for your children? Because how many of you like broccoli? You like broccoli? You like broccoli? No. If you were a parent, wouldn't it be nice to know which one of you does and doesn't? So if you don't like broccoli, do you think it's the parent would have a purpose in making broccoli for you? So wouldn't that be kind of cool to understand that? The genetics behind that kind of thing?
There's no genetics behind music producing. So, I mean, like,
I bet there, maybe not genetics, I bet there's science behind it somewhere. We can find articles, we can try to find articles that has to do with music producing and science. You think you might want to try looking for something for me? No? Why not? Alright.
because the pill is affecting the body, and we were also talking about, and also Alzheimer's disease, where actually they also talked about that Alzheimer's disease, you either naturally have it, like you can naturally have it, you can get it, or you just don't have it. And so,
Do you think knowing and understanding genetics is important for learning about whether somebody might or might not get Alzheimer's?
yes. Okay.
How do you think genetics is important for something like athletic doping?
You can figure out who's been having it.
Alright, who wants to share something interesting they learned in their article? Kelly.
Okay, so I have an article on decoding, and they have they're trying to find a way for the military, send codes to stop them going. And there's a jellyfish, and it's called Aquaria victoria, and it glows green and blue. And so they have different messages, and if you put different antibiotics on the glowing stuff, it turns different colors of glowing. So then like 2 dots in one color could mean something, and then 2 lines in a different color could mean something else. But you can't see it on just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You have to put antibiotics in it and let it stay there for about 3 days, and then it finally shows up.
Okay, so there's a direct link to the genetics that you guys have been learning this week, right? They use their actual DNA in those jellyfish to change their DNA so that they can send codes with the military. Anybody else think that's kind of cool?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Christian.
I found what interesting was that if your parents drink less than a cup of coffee a day, then your enzymes have a harder time of breaking down all the caffeine. So if you drink a cup of coffee or 2, if you have all that caffeine, you'll get that rush, and then if your enzymes don't break it down, your rush will last, and so your enzymes break it down, and then that's how when you use all your energy, and then after you just crash.
Yeah. So how many of us drink caffeine to get that rush? Yeah?
Well, I don't get it on purpose.
You don't get it on purpose?
I don't get it.
So how many of you, okay, I drink caffeine. So how many of you drink things that are caffeinated, but you don't feel the rush? So did you ever wonder why?
No, my parents drink pink.
So Christian read the article that showed that each of us has different, our DNA has learned to turn on and turn off enzymes in our body, so that for some of us, the caffeine doesn't affect us. So I drink it just because it tastes good. Where others of us drink caffeine, the enzymes work or don't work as well, so it doesn't break it down as quickly and you get that rush, right? That has to do with our DNA and our genetics and how they're utilized to turn on and off those enzymes. Yeah. All right. For real. What did you learn?
MAOA is a warrior gene, and to guys, it attracts them to gang relations and violence in weapons. And if girls have MAOA, they're more resistant to it than others. And they're opposites, but when they have it, they're attracted or resistant to it.
So for those of you in law who want to do some type of law enforcement, whether you want to be a police officer or a lawyer or an FBI agent, do you think understanding the genetics of those types of things would be important in dealing with people who are violent criminals, right? So maybe, you hate to say it because we all have choices, right? But sometimes our genes kind of push us to make one choice more than the other. So this could be one of those instances where the warrior gene kind of makes men a little bit more, more likely to choose a route with gangs. So that would be important to know as a law enforcement agent, right?
Gang affiliation.
I was going to say, to elaborate on Alex's a little more, it's they're not only likely to join gangs, but to be among one of the most violent members.
Ah, okay. So that would be important to know, right? Although you can never say your genes made you do it, can you?
Yeah,
still have
that's what I'm
choice.
gonna say if I get in trouble. My jeans make me do
Probably not. I don't think that'll flow very well, will it?
it. Jeans make me do it.
That's genetic testing. That they've actually genetically tested people to find those links in their genes. Yeah? Are they? Callie?
Okay, so in a different article, it said that they were like, in a sense, trying to like decode birds
Mm-hmm.
and their calls to each other. So they had a group of chickadees, and they had like a call that they only used for danger, and they put a pig of chickadees with a small falcon, and they were like freaking out. Yeah. But then the next time they put a falcon in there, and they didn't do it. So how do we think that could be like how they like feel when they get put in there, and do you think that has to be another thing to pass down from falcon? So learning, so that's probably true with a lot of different animals, right? A lot of them that are prey have a genetic instinct to know when to make certain calls to danger. Who else has something about that? How did architecture or engineering come to the science and genetic?
Exactly what I wanted to know, because it says, okay, so it says architecture is not science, and to the dismay of its appreciators, it's not art. Still, it borrows from both science, in particular, it has profoundly influenced architects in informing their knowledge of materials, geometries, volumes, and natural forms. Still beyond fundamentals, architecture owes a great debt to the language of science, which has been dominant discourse of our times. Drafting boards, that architecture may produce shape models on fractals, or conceivably sit down at drafting board after imbibing few pages of chaos theory. So I didn't think that the first sentence was right, saying that it wasn't art.
Okay.
Because what's the point of building something, like building a building? I know it's their own building, and let's say they just wanted a house and it's like 40 feet long by 20 feet wide, whatever. And it's just like a square, and they don't ask for anything, like any specific details, like they'll let you choose the walls and stuff. You're going to be the one. Like if they say you can choose like what you want for the walls and stuff, what will look good for it, you have to like choose like cool designs.
Okay.
Put extra.
So you feel
details
that there
on
is an artistry to architecture?
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
it
gonna
says that
disagree
there
with that.
isn't when there is.
I wonder if they were going for the fact that maybe it's not just all about art. Maybe it's a mixture of art and science together that helps you be architects.
Architecture shapes science.
What do you think about that?
I think it's different.
You think it's different?
Yeah, it doesn't sound the same.
Okay. What part of science do you think helps in architecture?
Volumes.
Okay.
That's
That's
math.
your math. Do you think maybe some architectures use,
Knowing which chemicals could go together without the house exploding.
that's a good one, that's chemistry right there, right? What about physics? Do you think there's some physics
You
involved?
can make a house float.
You can make a house float?
Yeah.
That would involve some type of physics, right? Okay. What about like, hold on just a second, Krishna.
Oh, good one.
Okay. You do know a good one for this, for his architecture? Okay, let me hear it.
Because like if maybe there's like a slant and then you have to like build your house so it's like straight, maybe you have to put more cement on one side so it's more straight,
Okay.
not tilted.
So that takes a couple areas of science and math too, right? Do you think some architects use nature things in nature to help them build things or to create things?
That, or they can use science to know, like, if it rains a lot, that the ground will erode and destroy the house, and
Exactly.
they can figure out,
That's,
like, how it's.
how about, okay, we've got a couple more minutes. How about, who do you think builds science labs?
Me.
Who do you think helps create them and helps put them together?
These people.
These guys. So do you think
But they
maybe
don't have
having a
the science
general knowledge of what goes on in a science lab would be important for an architect and how they create the lab so that it's efficient for the scientists? Right? That would be important? Okay.
Wouldn't you need to know a little science to know whether you put up the walls and things, whether they're flammable or not?
Yes, absolutely, that would be important.
So, I'm thinking about being a civil engineer.
Okay.
Isn't that where they build roads and stuff?
Mhm.
So, don't you have to have like the drawing and stuff, like a house to build the road?
Yeah, you would have to have some math knowledge, you'd have to have science knowledge, because when you're building and creating roads and bridges and things like that, you have to know about the ground you're working with, right? That has to do with science. You have to know what type of ground you're working with, how it works, how you can dig in it, how you can't. Did anybody learn anything that surprised them?
This involves Hillary Clinton.
Oof, okay. Beyond politics.
Nope.
No? Oh.
But apparently plastic can like give babies defects when they're born.
Wait,
Yeah, they just
eat plastic?
No, like the plastic, like the containers, like just like by having them or eating, like if you put leftovers in them, just from eating the food.
Some plastics contain a substance called BPA. You guys ever heard of that? It was on the news a few years ago as being a big deal. And they have done some studies that link the chemical BPA with things like birth defects. So do you think as far as being a doctor or a nurse or an OBGYN, that would be important to know, right? If you're dealing with a woman with fertility issues, that would be an important question to ask. Do you use plastics? What kind of plastics do you use? How often do you use them, right? Chris?
The doing YouTube is mostly, like, most of the people that do it have, like, some kind of illness, and that you can also get an illness from YouTube.
Yeah. So that would kind of be important to know a little bit of science for YouTubing, right? Do you think
by the diseases and how to, like, you'd have to know, like, what you could do to, like, not cause them or something?
could you use YouTube videos to help reach people with disorders and help them understand their disorders?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of these disorders, whether they're mental or physical, are genetically linked. So you could use YouTube as a platform to help people understand about diseases or problems that they might have and help them find help for it if they need it, or just give them support, right? So science could be important in being a YouTuber, right?
And said things are really wrong in their eyes.
So, do some plastic, this goes back to Emily, do some plastic things label if they have BPA and everything?
Yeah, some of them, I think they do. I think nowadays they have to label plastics as having BPA in them, yes.
Some of them say BPA free or something.
That would be, so that shows that that plastic didn't have BPA in it, so it'd be safe to use, right? So some of this stuff is just helps with general knowledge, like knowing something has BPA. Did you guys all want to know that just as general knowledge for your own health? Maybe. Maybe? Maybe?
I learned that like for coding, like you could do it in like different things like crimes or military or
So what you guys learned in your DNA last on Friday, right? How DNA is formed and the different nucleotides that are in DNA. We can use that to do all kinds of things, from military to law enforcement to the obvious in biology, correct?
Yeah.
So those have many, many aspects, being able to understand those.
Wait, so is dyslexia and discern a disease? How do you get them?
It's not contagious.
It's not
I know,
contagious. It's not a
but like-
contagious disease. It's more like a genetic.
Like,
It's a
how do you
genetic
get
thing.
them?
There's something in your genetic code with those nucleotides when they pair it together that something is turned on or turned off and not supposed to be. So it causes those types of
So what if no one
issues.
else knew how?
Then something happened that turned it on or off so that it doesn't work correctly.
Huh. That's weird.
But it would be neat to understand that, right? Why? what happened in your genetics that made that happen, right? Would that be interesting to learn? Yeah?
How does he?
So is that how like people come across like with like having troubles saying certain like letters and words? Like the genetic thing?
They could, yeah. There could be a genetic link to that. Sometimes it's just people not learning speech as easily when they're younger. Sometimes that is an issue, but sometimes it can have a genetic link as to why you can or can't do it. Yeah. A lot of things that we do are genetically linked.